The round of 12 is upon us in the 2025 NASCAR playoffs. 3 races and 3 very different tracks. We got a shortish, flat track at New Hampshire. Then we got an intermediate bank track at Kansas, high speed. And then we got a road course that's a little bit of everything. The Charlotte Roval, that is what people call the wild card race. So we're going to do a little bit of a preview here, talk about who's good at these tracks, who isn't good at some of these tracks. Some of the numbers actually kind of surprising. So yeah, we'll dive into it after a quick word from COOFANDY. Did you guys know that Christopher Bell and Joe Gibbs Racing have a new sponsor? That's right, COOFANDY will be on the number 20 car in October at Martinsville. COOFANDY has already been to Joe Gibbs Racing. They've done an interview with Coach himself, with Joe Gibbs. They've already done some teasers, done some videos on their paint scheme. The clothing company also has their own exclusive JGR merch line. You can get some shirts, some hats. You guys know me. I love a good hat. Always wearing hats in these videos. But no, if you want a t-shirt, if you want just an athletic shirt to wear, whether you're playing some video games, whether you're out enjoying nature, whether you're doing whatever it may be, but there are also other options for you for this exclusive JGR COOFANDY line. You can get some collared shirts. You can get some other JGR Christopher Bell merch. And in fact, Christopher Bell himself has his own line of clothing with COOFANDY. So COOFANDY, a new sponsor for Joe Gibbs Racing and Christopher Bell. So New Hampshire, the lobster. Someone gets a lobster this weekend. Now we are only focusing on the playoff driver stats because ultimately that's the fight for the championship. We could look at other people's stats, but for now we're going to focus on the playoff drivers. New Hampshire. Obviously everyone's going to think about Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, his entire career, whether it's been Cup, Xfinity, whatever, he has been great at New Hampshire. He is one of the 3 winners at New Hampshire out of the playoff drivers. Out of the 12 playoff drivers, he's one of 3. Fun fact, all 3 have multiple wins at New Hampshire. Joey Logano has 2. Bell has 2. Denny Hamlin has 3. In terms of career average finish, Denny Hamlin actually has the best at a 9.9. He averages a top 10 at this track. The worst is Bubba Wallace with a 20th place finish. Now in the next gen car, believe it or not, Kyle Larson actually has the best average finish out of everyone with a 7th place average finish. Of course, technically there is the factor of rain. I have not yet looked at the forecast, but last year we saw a rain race impact the results, impact everything. I mean, Christopher Bell dominated in the wet and dry, but it ended up being a very chaotic race. Goodyear is bringing a softer tire, kind of like what we saw at Richmond, I believe. So that could also play a difference in this race and how it goes, because we saw at Richmond how much that kind of shook things up. Then when we look at Kansas, so when we looked at New Hampshire and we looked at the active winners out of the 12 playoff drivers, how many of these guys have won at New Hampshire? It was a very short list. 3 people. Well, this one, over half of the active playoff drivers have won at Kansas. Chase Elliott has a win. Kyle Larson has 3 wins. Denny Hamlin has 4 wins. Logano has 3 wins. Ross Chastain is the defending winner of this race. Tyler Reddick won this one 2 years ago. Bubba Wallace won this one 3 years ago. A lot of guys are good here, or can be good here. Of course, not everyone can win this race. Now, surprisingly enough, Chase Elliott, in terms of the career average finish of the playoff guys, Chase Elliott had the best average finish at a 10.4. The worst was Austin Cindric at a 23.6. Now, with the next-gen card, Kyle Larson has an average finish of 6.3. We know how good he is. He's led almost 500 laps at this track. 2 of his 3 wins there are in the next-gen car, including this spring when he dominated. But the mile-and-a-half tracks, Team Penske, so I mentioned Austin Cindric is one of the lowest average finishes, or the lowest in the playoff guys. Team Penske's kind of a wild card in themselves at these mile-and-a-halves. For example, we every once in a while see the Penske cars not quite up there. We see Ryan Blaney, that 12 team is different. They'll go up and run top 5 every week, but every once in a while we see the 22 not have a great week. The 2 car not have speed on these mile-and-a-halves. But then we see Joey Logano win Texas. We see Austin Cindric lead a bunch of laps at Las Vegas. Like, those two teams are very inconsistent at the 1.5 miles. So, just factor that in. And then I feel like Kansas can be a wild card in terms of the winner. As I said, Ross Chastain, the defending winner of this race, 23-11. Both of their drivers have won this race. So when we look at the playoff cutoff line, when we look at who has the playoff points and who doesn't, all those three guys I just mentioned are right on that bubble as of right now. If any one of those guys wins, that is going to shift the cutoff line. We could potentially see a big name stumble like we saw Kyle Larson back in 2022. So this race could, we look at the Roval as kind of the wild card race in terms of anything can happen. Late race restarts produce chaos at the Roval, the heartburn turn and all that. But hey, Kansas in itself, not traditionally a wild card in terms of the wrecks, in terms of the late race restarts, in terms of the strategies like we see at the Roval. But in terms of a winner, I think we could see somewhat of a wild card potentially. And then moving on to the Roval. So the Roval, as I said, Kansas, we see a lot of active winners there. The Roval, shrink that list down. It's only 4 of the active playoff drivers. Chase Elliott has 2, Larson has 2, and then Bell won in 2022. And Blaney won the inaugural back in 2018. Of course, these road courses are different. This is where we kind of see a bigger range and speeds, a bigger range and abilities, range and whatever it may be. Now, obviously, there's the chance of non-playoff guys winning at New Hampshire or Kansas, but I would say the biggest chance of a non-playoff guy winning here would be the Charlotte Roval because of SVG. And then also AJ Allmendinger, he's won at the Roval in the Cup car. Like, those two are going to be in the mix for the win. SVG will be a heavy favorite for the win. So that could take a locked position in and add a points position in terms of advancing to the round of 8. So that is something to factor into how this round goes. Chase Elliott has the best average finish. He has a 7.7 average finish. As I said, he's won a couple of races here, but the shocking thing when you look at the numbers is out of the playoff drivers, the worst average finish at the Roval. Ross Chastain, 24th place average finish. And you may think, oh, okay, well, let's just pop over to the next gen stats. Like, it's got to be better since then because, he was racing in premium motorsports equipment or, Chip Ganassi wasn't as great at the end there. Oh, it's worse. That's right. It's a 25th place finish in the next gen car. So, that is one that is like an outlier, I feel like, because Chastain is a decent road racer. He's won at COTA. He's gotten top 10s, top 5s. He's done laps and all that. But the road course is it's a road course, man. And then you got to factor in some of the other playoff drivers. If this ends up being a tight points race with, let's say, Denny Hamlin's road course numbers are not great. Now, he had a top 5 at Chicago earlier this year, but he's only got one road course win over his long, 20-plus year career. He's extremely inconsistent. We've seen him finish, as I said, in the top 5 at Chicago. We've also seen him wreck it. We've also seen him just straight up finish in the 20s. The road courses for Denny Hamlin are a mixed bag. So if a guy with a lot of points like a Denny Hamlin doesn't capitalize at the tracks he's great at, like New Hampshire and Kansas, and he's in a close points battle heading into the Roval, it could be time to sound the alarms come Roval time. But then at the flip end, we could have a couple of big names be below the cutoff line and have to perform over top. They may have to score a bunch of stage points and finish well, or we may see someone need to win this race to advance. Christopher Bell had to win this race in 2022. He did just that. He's won on the road courses multiple times in his career. Won at COTA earlier this year. Chase Elliott's won here twice. Chase Elliott's been in must-win situations. Not at the Roval, but he's been in must-win situations, and he's got it done. Kyle Larson is the defending winner of the Roval. If one of those names enters this race below the cutoff line, we could very well see one of them win this race and reshuffle things up if they haven't been shuffled already. So the round of 12, who knows what's going to happen? New Hampshire, in fact, I'm just going to Google this real quick. Right now it's saying no rain, so that's good. Assuming it's a normal race, maybe we won't see as much chaos as we would see at a Talladega. Okay, that's an extreme example. As a Darlington, there we go. As a Darlington, we may see a little bit more normal results, but all it takes is one person, one big name to fall behind at New Hampshire, and they're having to play catch up at Kansas and the Roval. That could make things interesting. As I said, Kansas, we could get not necessarily a wacky winner, but someone close enough to that playoff bubble, that cutoff line, and that could flip the points in a sense. And then there's the wild card of the Roval, whether it's late race restarts causing wrecks, whether it's a non-playoff driver like a Shane Van Gisbergen winning that race and opening up a point spot. There's a lot that could happen in this round. We could see a big name fall out. We could see nothing happen. That's a big possibility. It could just end up being the most normal round ever. But that's my round 12 preview. If you want some picks, I guess I'll make some picks. I'll go Cindric and Logano to be eliminated. Chastain, I would have put him through to the round of 8, but those Roval numbers were not exactly pretty, so I'm going to eliminate him. And then the fourth one, this is where it gets tough. Because before the playoffs, I had Larson out in this round because I thought, I don't know, I feel like a big name's going to fall out this round. Just something's going to happen, something's going to go wacky. And I know he's so good at Kansas, and he could very well go out and win Kansas and dominate Kansas like he's done before. But sure, I'll stick with my pre-playoff predictions. Larson 2. No logic on that one. Just gut feel. Probably going to be wrong. Anywho, let me know what your round of 12 predictions are. Who's going to win each of these races? Who's going to advance to the round of 8? But thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you this weekend when we talk about New Hampshire.